tomorrow we'll sound the shofar, but I'd like us to think about that sound right now. What does the shofar sound like to you? When I think about it, I think of an alarm or a cry. But a rabbi in the Talmud offered a different description. Mar savar ganuchi ganach. It's the sound of moaning, sound of sighing. I don't know about you, but I usually don't think about the shofar as a sigh until this year. This year, I'd like us to consider that idea of the shofar as a sigh, because truly it has been a year full of sighs.
How do you sigh? Is it a breathy sigh? Or an oi, oi, oi kind of sigh? Take a moment and show us your best sigh. Or if you're with others, give them your best sigh. Okay, so here's the question. When and why do you sigh? I'll give you a minute to think about it. I think we sigh when we feel defeated, when we feel deflated, when we have no energy to move on, when we are exacerbated, when we are worried.
A sigh in Yiddish is a krechs. Now, that shouldn't be confused with a kvetch. Kvetching is crabby, it's complaining, it's nagging. Krechs is a sorrowful mourn, a sign of resignation. A deep sigh is the word that the heart uses to cry out in pain or cry for help. At the same time, a sigh can be the first step on the path to healing. In his book, The Earth is the Lord's, Abraham Joshua Heschel has an entire chapter called The Sigh. In it, he writes about people whose pain was so deep they could not trust words to express their sorrow. Instead, quote, their deepest thoughts would find expression in a sigh. Sorrow was their second soul, he wrote. The vocabulary of their heart consisted of one sound, oi. And when there was more than the heart could say, their eyes would silently bear witness.
Sorrow was their second soul expressed in a sigh. Wow. That just about sums it all up.
That's right. What if the krechs, though, is not just a way that we express our sorrow, but survive our sorrow? Rabbi Nachman explained that the world was created through breath. God breathed life into Adam, and Adam became a living being. Beyond human beings, it was God's ruach, God's spirit breath, that brought life to the world. So perhaps we can do the same. When we see that something is missing in the world, Rabbi Nachman taught, it's an indication that it needs to be filled with ruach hayim, with the breath of life. By sighing, a person extends her or his breath to fill that void and to make it whole. Al yedei ha'anacha mashlim achisaron.
What does this mean to us? On a physical level, when we take a deep breath and sigh, it's a release of tension. We fill our lungs with life, giving oxygen. And when we do, we expand our chests and make room for our heart. And we feel a calm wash over us. We renew our energy and infuse ourselves with a life force.
On a personal, let's say spiritual level, once we exhale we exhale our troubles and pains, and we are to inhale ruach hapiv, God's breath. We're to fill those places of lack within ourselves with God's spirit. And then we use our breath, we use our life, our voice, our cries, our calls to bring shleimut, to bring wholeness and healing to our world. Today on Shabbat, when we don't blow the shofar, we can still make the sound of the shofar with our sighs. Sighs that express deep pain and at the same time unlimited potential, our hurt and our hope. And so when I prompt you, I want to invite you, if you're comfortable, to take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. Now, I know that it can feel silly at first, but you're in the comfort of your own home. And so there's no embarrassment, there's no self consciousness. Just allow your body to release itself from that tension. Feel a sense of stillness and calm wash over us. And let's work to open our hearts with the promise that God's breath can restore us unto life. This has been such a year of pain, but God willing, also a year of promise. And the shofar holds them both. Using a sighing practice lets us express some of that pain in the world, but lets us do it in a way that may also put life back into the world and help us move forward. So I invite you to sit straight, and if you'd like to close your eyes. For all things, big and small, that we've missed this past year.
Seeing our parents.
Coffee with friends.
Hugs.
Attending the funeral of a loved one.
Graduations.
In-person B'nai Mitzvah.
Weddings.
Birthday parties.
In-person school.
Going to work.
Torah reading.
Kiddush lunches.
Concerts, fairs and festivals, restaurants, theater, sports.
For all of these and more, our heart says, Tkiya. For all the things that we've lost.
Jobs.
Faith.
Freedoms.
Our way.
Our standing.
Our sense of security.
Our sense of normalcy.
For all these and more, our heart says, Shvarim.
And we sigh.
For all the people we've lost.
Parents.
Grandparents.
Friends.
Essential workers.
Black people.
Brown people.
Native American.
For all these and more, our heart says, Trua.
And we sigh.
For all the things that we still have.
Each other.
Faith and tradition.
Community.
Creativity.
Adaptability.
Zoom.
Spirit.
Strength.
Our minds.
Our hearts.
Hope.
For all these and more, our heart says, Tkiya Gedola.
And we sigh.
By turning our lungs into a shofar, by breathing in God's breath and breathing out our calls for compassion, our prayers for healing. May we bring this year of curses to an end and begin a year of blessing.
Orcha ve'ona tehilotah